So thanks for everyone that signed up, and hope everyone got the correct order that they ordered.
Thanks.
For their decoy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No problem. So this is white cedar. So it's pretty nice white cedar. There are knots, and that's kind of the thing with white cedar. I ended up with a couple pieces that I ended up cutting out bodies, and they ended up going into heads because you find more knots than you want to have someone deal with. So some blocks are really nice, some have some knots, but all in all, not too bad. So hopefully everyone has a good time carving it. So tonight I'm just going to kind of talk about the patterns. So we've got 4 different patterns: a mallard, a gadwall, a widgeon, and a canvasback. So there's, I think, 7 or 8 people carving a mallard. I think there's 12 people carving canvasbacks, and I think 3 or 4 of the widgeon and gadwalls. So nice, good mixture. So and there's patterns up here, copies. Help yourself. Take all 4 if you'd like. So just go ahead and take 1 or all 4. So help yourself after the meeting. And for sure, take one of the block you chose to carve. So tonight I'm just going to kind of talk about the patterns a little bit, and how I go about making them briefly. So what I like to use is this tracing paper. Comes in a roll. You can buy it at Michael's or Dick Blick, and comes in a roll, and it's real nice to sketch on. So what we got is, this is the mallard. So I drew a side profile pattern. Kind of got a little curl in there if you want to carve the curl in a little bit. I didn't cross the primaries, but if you choose to, there's enough wood there to do that. So top of the head, face of the head, and the head and body. So how I develop patterns a lot of times is I'll get this study bill, and I'll go through the internet or magazines or anything I can find pictures of ducks. I'll be looking for mallards, and I got this study bill, and I'll measure the bill from the back to the front for length, and then I'll take that picture that I like, a nice side profile, and I'll take it to the copy machine and blow it up till the bill length matches the bill. So then now you got your proportions right, and to develop your head. And you can also do that kind of with your body too, kind of lay it out. So I always use the study bill to kind of get the dimensions or determine lengths and proportions to the duck, your pattern. Canvasback. This is from this is basically my pattern from my 2012 World Champion Drake. This one, the only difference is that I lowered just rounded the back off. I don't have any raised or elevated primaries there, but this is basically the pattern I used for my rig that year. So these are nice wide bodies. They're 8 inches. So the blocks we got are 8 inches, and we pretty much used the 8 inches on the mallards and the canvasbacks. So they're nice wide blocks. The widgeon, I've never carved a widgeon. So this pattern I took from Pat Godden's, and then just made some changes to it a little bit. Altered the shoulder a little bit, and then the primaries and the back and the head a little bit. I moved it around. And then the body, I widened it, made it a little rounder. Thing about puddle ducks and diver ducks, the divers you can get really round and wide that they still look like divers. The puddle ducks, you have to be careful. You can widen them out, but you don't want to get them too wide or they they don't look right. So you want them, the puddle ducks are generally a little narrower, skinnier. Gadwall, this one I think I took, picked from a photograph. Kind of a relaxed pose. Again, you could cross the primaries or just keep them touching like I drew them. So that's kind of a quick talk on the patterns. Any questions on the patterns? So some of you had your decoys cut out, so I'm just going to go through and show you how I go about drawing the pattern on the block of wood before I bandsaw it out. Now this is Kurt Soin's decoy. So I'm going to take this pattern here, and I'm going to lay it on the top, put it towards the front, center it on the top, the block of the wood. Nice thing about this tracing paper is I got the lead on the bottom side here. Draw this on. Or you can cut those out and then just lay them on there and trace them out. The top pattern drawn on. I want to draw the side pattern. So now the top, this is the front, the breast. So when you draw your side pattern on, you want to make sure you start at the front. If you go backwards, you just wasted your block of wood. So I'm going to line those up. And when you're drawing your patterns too, you want to make sure the length of your side profile from front to back are the same length as your top profile. That's important as well. And then I kind of lay out the tail, like here's the back of the tail, front of the tail. So I kind of draw that here to here, so they're the same length, here to here. And then these feather groups, the side pocket from there is the back to match this. The front is there to match this. So just keep that in mind when you're drawing and developing a pattern. Okay? So we'll draw that side profile on this block of wood. Nice thing about that tracing paper, if you got the lead on it, your drawing on it transfers right to your block. I don't know if you can see it, but it's there. So that's your body. So now when you bandsaw it out, I always start with the top. So I'm in the bandsaw, I'll start at the tail, come in here, around through here, and then just kind of stop here and back it out, and then come on the other side, come in, stop, back it out, come to the front, come into the front, go in, stop, and back it out, Same thing over here. Coming in, stop, back out. So you still have a block when you're done. So nothing's gonna rock in your bandsaw when you try to cut out the side. If you cut that all the way through, number one, you're gonna lose your pattern here. And number two, if you've worked with a bandsaw, it's very dangerous to try to cut something that's round. So this way it's in a block form yet. So now I'll go through and cut the side. Now, if you got a bottom board on here, I'll put that line in here. I've got the bottom board line. So when I cut out the side, I'll go in and just cut it out. A lot of times I'll start here first, coming in, try to eyeball it in, and bring it in as straight as I can through the neck. So I create that shelf. So coming in from the front, straight in to try to create that shelf. And then I'll just cut it out. Coming in, through the top and around, through the back. And then when I'm done with that, then I'll cut this off all the way through. So now you have two pieces. But it's still a block, a kind of block form, but not, you'd have the side profile, but from this way it's still block. So then I'll go through the bandsaw and come back in through here and just complete that cut on both sides, and then you'll have to do that with your bottom board as well. So, any questions on that? Okay. So now the head, to cut it out the way I typically do is a three-sided profile. You can just do the side profile if you want. You can do the side and the top like this one, or you can do the side, the top, and the front to give you that added dimension. So for you to do that, you want to make sure your block is completely square. And what I do is I find a center line, I measure out the center line. My little trick for that, find a center line. So I'll take a piece of paper, put it on the edge like that and mark it like that. Let's mark it. And I fold it over. Put that edge there, mark it, mark it, mark it. I know I'm dead center then. So I get those little marks. Now I'll take a straight edge, a ruler, and connect those dots. And I know I'm completely centered on that block. So I got a center line on the top, center line on one of the ends. A lot of times on the ends I'll make sure, because with your bandsaw, make sure I got a nice flat spot on the bandsaw. You really don't want to rock it. I find that this one feels better actually, so now I have my center line. This is going to be a mallard again. So I'll draw the side profile on here. Got my side profile drawn on. And then I'll take my pencil and I'll push down about in the center of the eye on the pattern there. And then at this point I'll take it to the drill press and just a small drill bit, just shoot it all the way through. That way when you're done, when you start carving it, it'll give you a good idea where your eyes are supposed to go. So I got the side profile on. Now I want to draw the top profile on here. so. And now the front profile. So as you can see, this mallard head, the top of it is down below the top of the block. So I'm going to extend a line over here. And I'll use a square to do this so it's more accurate, but so you know the top of the head is there. So now I want to transfer that line over to this front part here. I'll draw the front profile on there. Like so. So now this is the front, looking at it from head on, side, and then the top. So now when I bandsaw this out, number one, you want to make sure your bandsaw is cut and square. You want to make sure you have a good square block of wood, and you want a good blade in it. So you don't want a dull blade. You don't want to be forcing it in there, because as you can see, it's tight corners, and you don't want to lose any fingers. So what I'll do is I'll start with the top again. Just like the body, I'll come in from the back, stop, come in from the front, stop, like so. So you still have a block of wood. Then I'll go to the front face, and I'll come in from the top, come in, and I'll stop somewhere in here before don't go out. And then I'll do the other side, come in, stop, pull back out. You still have a block. Follow? And then the side, just cut it out as you see. Cut it out all the way around. And then when you're done with this, you pretty much can just peel everything off. It'll just peel right off, as long as your wood is pretty close to the size of your head. Just peels right off, and you end up with, someone have their head free. That's somewhat. So you end up with something like this, where you got, so really now it's rounding off. You got a lot of the measurements taken care of. It's a quick, easy way. But the key is having a square block of wood and your bandsaw cutting square. And just take your time. And make sure your pattern's lined up in all directions. All three patterns are working together. The other thing that's important too when you're drawing your patterns are the length. The length from your tip of the bill to the back of the head and your pattern need to be the same. Tip of the bill to the back of the head. And then the width of your top profile and your front profile need to be the same width. So if those are different, you're going to be losing wood somewhere. So, okay. If anyone wants to do that, we can do that in May. Come on over, we can do some of that stuff. Any questions on that? So, okay. I'm going to pass that around or get it back to Rich. Rick, sorry. Sorry. So, okay. So that's kind of the cutting out of the head and the body. So now you got your cutout. So this is Larry's bluebill he's going to carve. So we've got the cutout here. So now I'm going to show you what we do to draw on the side pockets and put some lines on here. So first thing I do is get a center line. So draw a center line all the way around. Now, unless you want to change the look of this decoy, don't remove that center line. Now I see that we'll have to put like a little channel through the back here, but as far as the profile, if you start removing the center line, especially back in through here, there's certain areas and in through here, you're going to change the look of your decoy. So just keep that in mind. So if you're taking the center line off, you're changing the profile. So, okay. So we have a center line, and we got the pattern here. So I'm going to lay this pattern on top. So the center line lines up, and the outside matches up with the cutout. I'm just going to draw the side pockets in here and the shoulders. We got it sketched in there. Okay. So now we want to do the side pocket. So what I'll do is I'll take this shoulder line here. Draw a line across it and kind of straight down. Straight down. Then the back of the side pocket, I'm going to transfer that line straight down too, like so. Okay. Now I'm going to draw the side pocket on. So that side pocket is from the front of the shoulder, starting at the front, working the way through the back. So I'm going to lay the front of the decoy, your pattern onto the decoy body cutout, and kind of trace that on the top of the side pocket. So I'm going to stop about halfway back somewhere in here, because being this is a round surface, and this pattern is flat. If you lay that on there, you're going to notice that you're going to end up about an inch short. So what you got to do is slide this pattern back so the back of your side pocket pattern matches up with that line. Then so you end up fudging something in here a little bit, but draw that on. So kind of got that right now. So I'm going to have to connect the dot. Just kind of fudge it in. Okay. So now you do the other side, same thing. It in. So now you kind of have your side pocket established, and then your top for the bird. So this is kind of now ready to start roughing out. Yes.
How do you reconnect your bottom board to the decoy body to proceed? When do you do it, and how do you do it?
Yep, when do I do it? It's after I bandsaw it out. So I'll cut it out the body, and what I'll do is I'll draw a center line through the. Rick, can I borrow yours again?
No, I'm not going to throw it. Multiple pieces. I don't want to check our insurance. We don't have it yet.
Yeah. So what I did is I found the center line of the cutout and drew a center line. And I'll do this very early on. I'm already thinking about flotation. This is already the center of the decoy. This is where my keel is going to be attached to. So generally what I did is I come in about 2.5 inches from the back of the decoy, about 2.5 inches from the front. So when I make my keel, I'm going to use these holes for my keel. So when I design my keel, I'm gonna use these holes. So I've got its center line drawn on. I'll measure that out, screw it back together then. So now if you have a holder of some sort that you want to put on it to put in a vise or something like that, you can use these same holes. You can use a holder of some sort that could utilize either one or both holes. That's great. And then I screw it back together. I'll rough the decoy out, carve it all out, get it to where I want, happy with it, and then remove the screws, and that's when I'll hollow it. And then hollow it out, and like I said, it's nice to have the keel down the center. When I first started doing this, I ended up, okay, the keel's got to be off center because it's leaning one way or the other. This way, if you got it down the center, you hollow it out. And I understand if you have the head turned one way or another, or you got, less wood in the back, more wood in the front, it might want to sit like this. It just might be more hollowing, might one side or the other to get it to float right. But before I glue it together, I've got it sitting in the water like it's sitting on the table. That's how I want it to be, because then when you add your keel's not going to be sitting there trying to get it to float right or flat. Your keel is just to pull it into the water. So whatever you put in the keel for weight is, and however low you want it sitting in the water, you're just adding weight more or less to get it to go up or down. That's all I use my keel for, to pull it in or up. So what I'll do is, say there's that decoy, they happen. So you hollow it out, you think you got it even both sides, and it still wants to lean one way or the other, or this way or that way, or you might have the head turned a certain way, which might be the reason why it's kicking back this way or this way. Put a piece of lead on the bottom board. So when I get those lead straps and cut them into little chunks, I'll tape one into the bottom board somewhere, saran wrap it together, put it in some water, and if it floats right, then I epoxy glue that lead weight right there, and then glue the decoy up, and it should float then the way it sits on the table. So, and we can go over that down the road one of these classes here if you want later on when we get there. So in your kit was a study bill and a pair of eyes for the species you selected. So if you had a gadwall, you got a gadwall bill. If you had a widgeon, you have a widgeon bill. Mallard, you have a mallard bill. Gadwall, you have a gadwall. Or gadwall, canvasback, you have a canvasback bill. So, okay. Eyes to brown for for 3 of them, and then the canvasback are red. So, okay. Any questions? So next month we'll now that we got it to this point, I'll come in next month and we'll carve the body. I'll pick one of these species, and I haven't done a widgeon before, so I'm gonna do a widgeon. So I'll bring a widgeon body in and we'll carve a widgeon. But the principle of it is gonna work for all of them, so. Like, the fun part's gonna be, I think, when we get to painting. You know, there's different aspects of painting on all of them. You know, the gadwall with the rings, you know, the vermiculation, the combing is different than the vermiculation on the canvas back, so, or the mallard. So there'll be kind of fun things we could do with all that in the end, painting. So, anything else? So, if you ever have questions, anything, call me. So,
You bring your questions next month to the,
yeah,
to the meeting.
Yep. If you want to work ahead or get stuck, bring it next month.
Thanks, Tom.
Yep. Thank you.
Thank you very much.